One more time. Welcome to the Rugby 100 Club. I'm your host, Matt Courtwright. Today, we have to interview Latho, Chris Latham, as the government puts it. And, of course, my co-host today, Paul. Hi, Paul.
What's up, guys?
Chris,
How are we?
thank you for joining us, my man.
Yeah, no, very excited. Thanks for having me.
No,
to be on.
Thanks for being willing. I was lucky enough to meet Chris during the 24 season of MLR while he was assisting Clarkey. And let's see, I counted it up, Chris. You and I joined together at 15 matches that season. So we saw each other a couple times. And we had a couple.
Yeah, we had a good season and a good year that year, and we had a good squad, so plenty of games, which was good.
And it was fun to watch the dynamic of two different coaches coaching the team. Honestly, it was funner than hell. So I'll just dive into it. The question for me is, did you start with the West Bulldogs or the Ranwick?
Ranwick. So I left school, a small country town in northern New South Wales, and if I'm being completely honest, rugby was never even on the cards for me to even play or want to play. I actually played soccer throughout my schooling year, and I was right into my soccer. I loved it. I wanted to be a professional soccer player, to be honest, and I'd made Australian schools, but because I lived in a small country town, couldn't afford to get to Sydney, couldn't afford the time or being able to go there for trainings and stuff. So I had to pass that in and miss out on Australian schools for soccer. So and again, schooling wasn't my best subject at school either. So turning up to school wasn't my best. What was my best? Not turning up to school was my best subject. So I played any sport that I possibly could, and the rugby team needed an extra player. So we had a competition that was down in Sydney. So I went to Sydney, played a game, and back those days, there were people called development officers, and what you did was you got there, you wrote your name on a piece of paper, and that went out to all development officers within Sydney and to all the clubs. So we played the tournament. I went home. Would have been about 2 or 3 months later, I got a letter from both Ramwick and I think Warringah or Gordon. I'm not sure of the other one. But back then, I knew nothing about rugby. The only thing I ever knew about rugby was one person, David Campese, and he was from Ramwick. So when I got the letter from Ramwick, I went, I'm going to see if I can go to Ramwick. So they sent me a letter inviting me to come and play for the club. So I rang them and said, listen, I want to come, but I need you to I need a job, a reason to go, because I'm going to have to pay my way. And their major sponsor at the time was Sydney City Toyota. And they said, we could get you a job as an apprentice mechanic. And I went, well, I've got no interest in being a mechanic. I've got really no interest in being a rugby player, but I've got every interest in getting out of this small country town. So I said, yeah, I'll take it. And, I moved straight after I finished school in year 12. The day I finished my exams, I got in the car and I drove to Sydney. And started playing Colts rugby. So Colts rugby in Australia is I think back then it was an under 20s competition.
Okay.
So I started playing Colts rugby and played first grade Colts. That first year we didn't win a game. Second year, Obviously while starting an apprenticeship as a mechanic. Then second year we got a coach called Alan Gaffney. Now Alan Gaffney started coaching then went on to coach in Ireland and was very successful. Coached with the Wallabies, but at the start he coached us. We went on to that year, never lost a game, won every game, won the
Wow,
final, and
0 to hero.
that's incredible. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow.
And then from that second year, I went up into grade. So I moved straight up into grade. And back then, club footy was the pinnacle, I guess, of well, obviously playing for your state and playing for Australia was a massive thing. But playing club was also massive and prestigious of where you came from. And Randwick was a very, very prestigious club who had many, many Wallabies. And at the time, you could find yourself playing first grade for Randwick, and then the Wallabies and state players would come back, and you'd find yourself in third grade. So that's how many Wallabies and greats played for that club.
Wow.
Um, so I started off playing first grade Colts straight out of first grade, straight out of Colts, straight into first grade. My third week in, all the Wallabies and everyone came back. I was bumped down to third grade.
Wow.
So So I went to
Makes
the
sense.
second grade coach and said, "Listen, I'll play third grade. Can I sit on the bench for second grade?" And they were like, "Yep, yep." After I got that yes, I went straight to the first grade coach and I said, "After I play third grade, bench second grade, can I bench first grade?" And they went, "Yep, if you want, that's fine. That's good." Lo and behold, played third grade, bench second grade, got on for a bit, then went to first grade, and the fullback at the time was a Wallaby fullback.
Oh,
He got injured, and
okay.
thankfully, I'm on the bench. So on I go, and then he had a long term injury, and it was the first grade coach at the time after the game said, "You showed initiative. We had you in. You're in." And then from there, I just made sure that every performance count and every
Just
game
went
count.
for it.
And I ended up playing a final that we made it to the final. Now that final, I'll give you an idea of who was in the team. I had Phil Kearns, um,
Wow.
the entire front row were all Wallabies. The entire the entire second row were all Wallabies.
Jeez.
The whole second row bar one was a Wallaby, and the one that wasn't was contracted to New South Wales Waratahs, so he was a Super Rugby player. I had backline George Gregan, David Knox, so both obviously 10, 12, 9, 10 Wallabies. Adam Magro and someone Mags. Um, anyway, two
Okay.
Wallabies.
Wow.
That's nuts.
Then I had myself at fullback, David Campese on one wing, and the other winger was not a Wallaby, but he was a Super Rugby player. So I was the only non-contracted, non-Wallaby or non-Super Rugby player in that final. We played Gordon that year, and Gordon had 13 Wallabies in that final as well.
And I'm
Were
sure you were the
you
best player in that match.
I was gonna say, like, how did you feel? Like, were you
Well,
nervous
well,
being
to
around
be honest,
all that talent?
the fullback, the fullback that played for Gordon was the incumbent second fullback. So the starting fullback obviously was from Randwick, and he got injured. Then the backup fullback was played for Gordon. And Campo said to me at the start of just before we're in the sheds getting changed, and Campo said to me, "Mate, I know for a fact that he's up for negotiation on contract. If we have a good day out here today, we could get you into the Waratahs. We could get you a contract." Now, mind you, I'm living in Sydney as an apprentice mechanic earning 200 maybe bucks a week. I am working a full day I'm doing overtime to get extra money, then I'm literally either riding my bike or catching a train to getting close to training and then running to get to training on time on a weekly basis. And
Jeez.
the thought of getting a contract and earning money and doing something that I've just fallen in love with a sport over the last 2 years, yeah, I'm
Yes,
pumped.
sign me up.
I'm ready for it. And as it turned out, we ended up winning that game. At one point there, Campo got the ball and he said to me, Lath, I'm putting up a high ball. You chase this like shit. He'll drop it and you're going to score. And sure enough, he put up a high ball. The fullback dropped it, landed in my arms. I scored under the post. And yeah, so pretty
Hell
big.
yeah, that's awesome.
This is how things work. But that's how things happen. And I ended up getting the contract. But at that time, that was the start of professionalism. That was 1996. So I was on a minimum contract that was $10,000. So
About 22 at this age, I'm guessing.
I'm 20, 21, 20, 21, 21.
Okay.
So I'm still now having to, and in Australia, when you get I'm now contracted, but it's my second job. So you pay 50% tax on all your second job. So really, I'm only getting $5,000. So my big grand plan of feet up, I've made it, has instantly turned to I get $5,000 extra a year. So I'm still now having to work full time, finish work, bolt out in a car out to Concord where they train,
Oh,
get home, come all the way back into town where I lived. So it was by the time I'm finished my day, it's nearly midnight, and then I start again at 7:30 in the morning. So that was me for the next 2 years.
oh, to be young. Oh,
Yeah, but hungry for
yeah.
wanting it. So yeah,
Have you ever met any like, since you've been coaching, have you met any young athletes that have had that hunger like you displayed?
yeah, you do. I mean, they're very few and far between. A lot now because a
That's what I
lot
was
of it's now there's such prestige around schoolboy rugby, and there's this sense of, and I wouldn't say it's entitlement, but there's a sense of if I haven't made it by the time I'm 1 year out of school or I'm not walking into the best team after school, then I won't make it.
yeah.
So it becomes very frustrating, because we're always, for me, it was never do this to get that, or if you do this, you're going to be this, or just do this, and you're going to get to that. It was just be the best at this, conquer that, and then be the best at that and conquer that. And I guess that's then after that second year of being in New South Wales, I got asked to go to Queensland. And the thing that struck me straight away and why I wanted to move and why I was so drawn to Queensland and to the Reds was they had this mantra of you play for this jersey and you do it to your best ability and higher honours will come. Where I always felt when I was in the New South Wales jersey, it was all about, well, I play for New South Wales, I'm going to walk into the into the Wallaby jersey, and it almost felt like it was a given. Where at Queensland, it was you had to earn it, you had to earn that right, and by earning that right, you give blood and bone to this jersey, and higher honours will come after that. So, that really drew me in. That sucked me in, and I loved that.
You weren't afraid to earn it is what you're saying.
I think it was just that. I mean, I know this will be foreign to you guys, but there's a rugby league competition in Australia, the state of origin, and there's a New South Wales and Queensland rivalry. It runs thick in rugby as well, but it's it's just a Queenslander thing that's instilled in you that you earn what you take or you earn what you get, and you've got to earn it and you've got to do it for the right reasons. And that has stuck with me and it worked for me. And but then all of a sudden, because it had worked for me, I started noticing that, I see these people that always are looking beyond. They're always, oh, but I'm just here for now, but I'll go there and I want this and I want that. But it was never, they never got it. But yet I saw all these people going and giving their all for this moment, that time and place. And then all of a sudden, opportunities elsewhere and above would always fall into their hands. And it was just like, there is something about this. It is a thing that needs to be pushed, and it's something that I instill now in our Chicago boys. Is we're all here for a reason, and that reason is to give your blood and your whole body and soul into this jersey. And then you do that, I'll promise you other opportunities will come. But if you're looking beyond that, if you're thinking that you're bigger and better than that, you're not invested in here. You're not going to give us your all. You're not going to be at your best. And that's something that we work on a daily basis.
That makes a lot of sense in all sincerity because they got to buy in first before they can be good. They got to focus on this task before you can worry about any of the others. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Exactly right.
yeah. I
So
love that
yeah, I
because
mean, as you can see, I kind of just fell into things.
fell into it, but yeah, but like it goes back to that whole beginning where you were willing to show that you want to earn it, and you've been doing that ever since. I mean, outside looking in, I watched you do it myself, like as a coach in general, just waiting for your like. I mean, you were assistant, and then boom, Chicago opened up, bam, you were there, and
He's a hustler.
yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, I guess you call it hustler, but I mean, like, I think of it as the blue collar country boy that you came from, and you're willing to put your neck in and earn and focus on what needs to be done, and then when the opportunities present themselves, then we just explore that and discuss that.
Yeah, and I enjoyed my time at Seattle, and we put our head down and we worked hard.
Yeah,
And it was about making sure that we had a we had a very talented team. So yeah, it was about that, and then yeah, opportunities arose, and you got to look at them and take them when they're there.
I was gonna ask, how many caps do you recall having when you went to Japan for that Voltex team? Because they don't keep records of that. So I'm gonna have a
No,
little fun. So we started here. Did you play with the Bulldogs?
yeah, yeah. So that was my team that I played for at the when I was at the Reds, the Bulldogs. Yeah. So
Okay. So
mate, I honestly, I was one of those players that came back I'd play if we played for the Reds, like at the start, if I played for the Reds on a Friday night, I'd play club Saturday.
Holy cow.
okay.
If I played a test match on a Saturday and club was on a Sunday, I would play club footy. Coaches hated it, but
Really?
but I
So
loved
you
it.
just
I
bounce
just
between the Reds and the Bulldogs kinda is
Yeah,
that
I
what
just club
okay.
footy to the Reds or Wallabies to club. I just loved it. I got to a point where I just loved playing footy.
Well,
Very
it's I wanna know about the gloves. At the end of the day, I'm really curious about these gloves here. Because it's not
so
that like, I found another picture, and for some reason, I was like I was so zeroed in, bro. I was like, "Oh, I gotta ask him about these gloves because we don't see gloves a whole lot in footy in general.
if you notice the boots as well, they're the same brand. Good, interesting story. So the guy that started the boots, his name was Simon. Now Simon developed the Predator boot
Okay.
for
That's cool.
Adidas, and he was an Aussie, and he was actually from Brisbane, and then decided I'm going to go out and branch out and make my own boot. So the brand was Nomis, so Simon spelt backwards.
That's awesome.
Clever.
Yeah, and they were a pure kangaroo leather boot, like 100% kangaroo leather boot. They were bloody
Wow.
so comfortable.
I was
And
gonna say,
he was very desperate to get his name out, and would give us boots and stuff. But boots on a player to a certain point really kind of only gets you so far. And then he had these gloves. He made these gloves out of kangaroo leather as well. And to be honest, they had the fingers cut off. So they really did not do anything, if I'm being
Yeah,
honest.
you were humoring your buddy trying to get him a sponsorship. I see you.
But yeah, and like I said, I'll be 100% transparent with you. He paid me to wear them, and mate, who's not going to take money to wear a pair of gloves on a footy field? So, um, that's kind of the story of why the gloves were worn. But I can guarantee you now, they did not help me one little bit as far as extra grip or anything. If
Right,
anything, they if anything, they put the pressure on you because if you drop the ball with gloves on, you really got no excuse.
right, right,
You look
right.
like a doofus if you do that.
Yeah, so
100%.
it really doesn't help.
So I saw this picture of you, and well, for those that don't know, you and I are like a year apart, so it's funner than shit to see these pictures come up. Look at that cub, bro.
I know that would have been like that would have been probably, yeah, maybe early. That would be very, very early days. That was when I was 109 kilos and not very fit and not at my best shape. But back then, that's was okay.
Yeah, it's just so fun. You're just being young again. I don't know. I giggle about it. It's fun.
It'd be
So
nice.
I counted up roughly because I couldn't get any of those caps for when you went to Japan for your first year.
Yeah, but I would say probably. I would say probably maybe 30
30.
because they
Okay.
play a lot of games in Japan. Not all of them are competition games, but you play nearly a season in the off season
Yeah.
Oh,
of
wow.
games that don't count. It's crazy.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Like they're probably
Scrimmage
called.
games kind of thing.
Yeah,
Well, because
they're friendly.
before you went to Japan, I had you down at 251 caps between all the stuff with Wallabies, Queensland, etc., which is incredible, dude. How did
That's a
you
lot of time.
how did you not get hurt? Or did you just learn how to play hurt? I don't know.
Oh, mate, and to be honest, there'd be Australia A games in there that you probably haven't counted where I'd play mid. So over European tours, I would actually put my hand up and say, I'll play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday.
Oh, ow.
So yeah, there was 5 weeks, 5 week European tours where I'd go Friday, Saturday, Wednesday, midweek game, and then for the Australia A, and then play Test match again on Saturday. So
That's
yeah, I played a lot hurt.
I'm like, you're not right in the head at that age, period, bud.
Yeah, I just love it.
Mm,
I generally
yeah.
like when you genuinely love something and you just want more and more of it. You kind of just learn not to feel the pain. Just kind of learn to just run with it.
so.
Yeah.
How much pain are you in now?
Good
Yeah,
question.
now it's hard to run with the pain. I've just finished training. I've been because of our limited squad members this season with the MLR. We've got a couple of guys out at the moment sick, so I've had to start running around with the boys today. So yeah, I'm feeling it.
Not as much as you will tomorrow, huh? Oh,
Yeah,
goodness. No, this is cool. Thank you for making the time, Chris, because this is a lot of fun because I never got to nerd out with you in person. You go to Japan, you play your ass off, you start helping with coaching backs, is what I read. Okay.
yep,
And then that seemed so you retired in 2012 as
yep,
a player.
yep.
You'd already kind of transitioned into a backs coach, assistant coach, if you will. And
Yep.
then you ran with it is what I'm seeing. Like I just you
Again, another funny story, another bit of a story to this. So
please.
I honestly went home back to Australia with no intentions of being a coach.
Okay, so
I
that'd be
did,
the jump between 12 and 13. Got it.
yeah, I still didn't know if I wanted to be one because I was transitioning from when I retired, I made the choice that I'd had enough. My body had had enough and I was done, physically just spent and done. But then, so I went home and then it was probably 2, 3 months later, I was like, "Oh, fuck, did I really make the right decision? My body's feeling good. I could probably go one more," but it was too late. I'd retired and finished with the club, and I had no intentions of coaching, and I was kind of just throwing around ideas of what to do next. I had no real idea because, again, stupidly, and I don't know if it's stupidly or not, but I really didn't focus on anything else when I was playing rugby. I really didn't set myself up job wise or have any other interest. My whole interest and love was rugby. So I was kind of trying to figure things out. And when you're in Japan, you have translators. So obviously to translate from Japanese to English, English to Japanese, from coach to players, and then players to players and things like that. So there's a translator. And I ended up being really, really good friends with the translator. Him and I got on really well. And we'd go out to dinner and stuff. And we became very close. So by the time I got home and that kind of a couple of months had passed, he gave me a call and said that he was coming to Brisbane. And I was like, oh, great. It'd be good to catch up. What are you coming to Brisbane for? He said, oh, the Tongkok, Tongkoku, which is is basically the head coach or the manager of a Japanese club. The new team that I'm with has an interview with a coach. He goes, but I don't want to tell you who, but he's got an interview and we're looking at hiring him. And I said, oh, okay. I said, well, mate, when you're over here, let's go out to dinner and we'll go out and he goes, and I knew the people that he was, well, sorry, I didn't know. I said, I knew him. I said, bring the other guys. That'll be fine. And I'll show them, we'll go out for a steak because steak is quite prestigious in Japan to go out to. And there's a lot of good steak restaurants in Brisbane. So I said, come out and I'll take you out for a steak at a restaurant. So we went and did that. I met the Tonkoku and all the other assistants and all that, the Japanese guys. We had a really good night. It was funny as just an awesome night. And the next day he rang me and he said, can we go out for breakfast? And traditionally what happens is if you take the Japanese out, you pay for them. So I paid for all that night. And
I'm thinking over here, like, dude, you don't have any income coming in. This is kind of a low key gamble at the end of the day, in my thoughts.
well, I wasn't gambling anything. I was just going out for dinner with my mate to catch up.
Love
The
it.
next morning, he rings me and says, "Can we catch up for breakfast?" And and this is me to him going, "Well, hang on, mate. Yeah, but I'm not shouting yous all. I'm done buying yous all food and breakfast and everything. I'm not doing that." And he goes, "No, no, 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 no." He goes, "We'll pay for it." He goes, "This is actually a formal meeting." And I was like, "Hey, what do you mean?" He goes, "The the the manager really liked you. He actually really thought you were a really good guy. I think he's going to offer you the coaching role." And I was like, "Hey, I don't want to what?" So as it turned
Again, it's
out,
one of those things like you're focusing until the opportunity.
yeah, so I
This
went to
wasn't an opportunity he was looking for, though.
no,
Oh,
and in the end, yeah, he went to breakfast and he offered me the job to come over as the assistant coach, which I said to him at the time, "Listen, I'll come over as a what do you call it? As a spot coach, someone that just comes for 3 months, sorry, 4 weeks. And if you're happy with me and I'm happy with it and it kind of fits, we'll
yeah.
talk." Anyway, after 2 weeks, he says, "We want you for another 4 weeks." And I rang my wife and said, "This is what's happened. They've come to me. They want me for another 4 weeks. Can I stay?" She's like, "Yeah, you're fine." 4 weeks after that, Stavs, I've still got 2 weeks on that extended bit. He goes, "Mate, we want you now. We want you to stay for a few more months." And kind of talk a few more months. Yeah. And in the end, long story short, I ended up staying for that year. And I signed year on, year off contracts, only year on and year off for 8 years
Wow.
at that one
That's a
club.
very long 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Longest
That
4 weeks of
four
your life.
that 4 weeks turned into 8 years or 9 years possibly at that club at Docomo,
Yeah,
which we
2015 to
got them
18.
into top. They were a team that never got into top league, got them into top league. I think a couple of years there, we had the highest try scoring wingers, most points scored by 10. Consecutive times stayed up in top league that they'd never done before. So yeah, we had a good like a good run there for a long time. It was fun, enjoyable.
If Latham touches it, it turns to gold, it sounds like.
There's truth in that. That's for sure. It's fun
Nah,
to go
there
back
was
through this because I
there was a
haven't.
lot of people. There was a lot of people that were involved, and a lot of people did some good work. It was fun.
Yeah, definitely built a great team, is what it sounds like.
Yeah,
So then you decide you're going to go help Samoa for the Rugby World Cup for 19.
yeah. So again, a good friend of mine was became the GM. He was an ex-coach. He actually coached me at Cuden Vortex, and he was the GM at the
Oh,
time, or he was both GM and head coach. And he got me into. He asked me if I'd come and help Samoa qualify for the World Cup. So we did that and we qualified. And then following straight after that, he ended up losing his job at the GM, which then obviously he lost the head coach role. But for whatever reason, the new head the coach that came in, the Samoan boys said that they wanted me to stay, so I stayed for the World Cup, which was really cool. So
yeah.
to play in 3 World Cups and to coach in one was, yeah, it's pretty cool.
And the
That's very
first
cool.
you played in 1999, you won, you dog.
Yeah, so that was, I had some of the best players in the world in that team. So
That was so
That's
cool.
awesome.
And then you go to Utah, is what was
yeah,
next on the plate. And boy, talk about shit timing. I mean, the
yeah,
pandemic just crossed your face like a left hook. Oh,
yeah. I mean, Utah was Utah was a big eye opener. It was fun. They hadn't won. I think in 2 seasons they'd only won 1 game. Um, it was difficult circumstances there where it's funny when you tell the boys now, especially the facilities and everything that we have at Chicago and how
oh,
good they have it. When I tell them what I had in Utah when I first arrived, we were lucky we had an indoor stadium. But that wasn't available to me until quarter to 11 at night, every
Oh,
ni- every night. Oh,
at that
sorry,
oh,
10:30. 10:30 it was. Sorry. So our sessions would start at 10:30 at night and would finish at 11:30. In that short season that we we ended up winning we won 2 games, which was the most the club had ever won in its history, and we'd won them in the first 3 rounds. And And our first 3 rounds were away from home. So we hadn't yet played a home game. And the worst thing was we'd finally week 4, I think it was, or it was either week 4 or week 5. We either had 4 on the road or 3 on the road. I can't exactly remember what we had, but I know we'd won 2 out of 3 or 2 out of 4, whatever it was. Because we'd just beaten Seattle at Seattle in the 90th minute with a try in the 90th minute to win the game. And
yep.
so the next week we were going to play our home game, and we trained all week. We were so excited. We were on a roll. We just had a great win against Seattle in Seattle, which is fucking hard to
Huge.
do
Yeah.
now, but back then was even like it was even forbidden that you even
Yeah,
won
because
a
it was
game.
even louder then than it was in the last couple years. We were selling that place out, elbow
It
to
was
a-hole all
raging.
the way around that pitch. It was crazy. Yeah.
damn.
I remember you guys didn't give us a coach's box or anywhere to sit or stand. So
Oh,
I'm behind on the railway track there underneath the pine trees because there was a row of 4 deep behind the post. That's how busy the whole place was.
Holy cow.
Yeah, um, so we
Yeah.
just trained all week. We had our captain's run. We're out on the field for the captain's run, and Kimball, the Utah manager, came down and said, "Chris, Chris, I've got some bad news." And I went, "What's going on?" He said, "Mate, competition's been suspended. We can't play this week." And I'm like, Are you kidding me?" He goes, "No, I'm being serious." And then that, history shows that was it for the year.
That sucks.
Yeah. So, we were on a roll. We did some good things, but the following year, obviously, we went on and we made a final. So,
Yeah. And then you resigned. Do you care to shed any light on that?
oh, mate, it was a very difficult time. Obviously, with all the stuff going on in the world. I
Yeah.
had a son. Uh, I had a son that was just going into like high school. Um, yeah, it was family wise, just wasn't the right time. If I'm being honest, mentally, I wasn't in the best position. Like it had been at a time where I'd struggled with the transition of being a player to now being a coach. I was
Mhm.
always fighting with myself, still wanting to show and do what I could do with the ball as opposed to coach it and explain it. I wanted to show it, and I was always at a constant battle with myself of that, and it just took its toll, and I'd had enough. And I guess the pandemic and was just a probably an easy excuse to say, I'm done. I want to get away. I'm finished. So I finished, and I'd done enough, and I'd done, and didn't come back, and then obviously, yeah, over time things changed. Home situation changed with my son finishing school. My daughter was 24, 25, or whatever she was at the time. And she had her own life. And my son was starting to find his own life and away from the family and things like that. So then, yeah, and then the opportunity with Seattle came up. Yeah. I can't remember exactly how Clarky and I connected, but we connected over something away from not being coach, like me not going there and coaching. It was more, I don't know how it evolved or why it evolved, but it ended up evolving that Clark and I spoke about rugby on some level. I can't even remember what the level was, but it
Right.
was a, it was a, it was one of those conversations that was just an information piece from both sides giving back and forth. And that was probably a year before I even started coaching there. And then that kind of evolved one more chat, maybe, I think. And then after that, it was radio silence, nothing. And then out of the blue came Clarkey asking if I'd be interested in maybe coaching, what the thought was there. And yeah.
That's cool. I until I got to know you a little better through the season, I did not realize the polar opposites that we had for coaching and personalities. That was
Yeah.
fun to watch.
We went well. We made a final.
Yeah, you did. Man, you're a good luck charm, buddy. Speaking of good luck charms, did you buy anybody pints over the weekend for St. Patty's Day?
No, no, I don't. I'm trying to keep my body together. I don't really drink or don't drink at all, to be honest. I
I didn't know that you were baiting the fans. I gotta be nosy.
no. I mean, I got obviously sent out a message to our fans, and I know like we've got some unbelievable fans, and the
Yeah, you
Kennel
Yeah, we
Club and
do.
what we do, and they I mean they go well beyond what you'd expect, and far beyond that. And they wear the Chicago jersey with pride, and they get it out there. And I know there was heaps of them out there on Saturday on Paddy's Day with the jersey and getting our name out there. So yeah, I mean it's awesome, and that's what you do it for. There's the team, and then there's the team behind the team, and that's the Kennel Club, that's the supporters.
they've been great as coming in as a fan. They've been great Man, can't say enough good about them. Out of all the opposing fans, they're one of the most welcoming, and it's cool because they remember you. That's even better, you know. Hey, you still want to
Yeah.
you want a taco, Matt? I'm like, oh, guy knows my name. That's cool.
Yeah, and I think that's important because that's what separates rugby from any other sport in the world. You know,
Oh yeah,
the fact that you can run onto the field after a game and shake hands with a player, and a player can stand there and converse with a fan. Um, the fact that you've got, and I really witnessed this when I played for Worcester in England. Like we had some of the best traveling fans that you have. We'd have almost there'd be over there'd be somewhere between 5 and 10,000 that would travel, and we weren't
Wow.
we weren't like a top we weren't like a top team in the Premiership or in the Challenge Cup if we went to, Wales or something like that. Like we weren't up there. Yet home games, we had a purposely built, I think it sat 25,000. We would sell that out
that's
most
awesome.
weeks, if not every week.
That is awesome.
My absolute utmost dream would be to have, a home final with 30 odd thousand people in that stadium on a Sunday afternoon, sun blaring down. Mate, what an awesome experience. So,
Oh,
Ser-
you know, boot parties in the car park, all that kind of stuff beforehand. Again, that's unique to rugby. That's what makes rugby separated from any other sport, I believe. Is those
yeah,
well, and it's the values and everything else that goes with rugby, but part of those values is how we all come together before, how we bash each other, and then we come together after, and that's the love of the game,
it's really what makes rugby rugby.
hundred
That's what
percent.
it's all about.
well, Paul, do you want to ask him your question that you had earlier?
That actually fits pretty well with where I was going with it. I was thinking fans know what we want out of the team this year. We want the shield, obviously. What do you and the team want out of the fans this year? Is my main question.
Well, I can tell you from experience, both as a player and now as a coach, and especially, and I'll give credit to Seattle on this as well, and Chicago, because I felt it this year with Chicago, is when you guys are loud in the important moments. When we're on the line and we're defending our own line, and you guys are starting to bark, and you're cheering and barking, and that gets loud. That lifts. You get an emotional lift from that. And again, when we get into the opposition and we're on a roll and things are starting well, again, those things of getting behind us and supporting. I mean, just the loudness and numbers, sheer numbers in support like that. That record crowd we got against New England last year. Was it New England or
Old Glory, if I'm not mistaken,
Old
that
Glory?
playoffs game, right?
Old Glory. There was nothing better than that noise, especially at the end. Like
Even in the
it
middle when
was,
Peyton Wall scored that long try from about the half-meter line, that was everybody went nuts. If there was a roof on that place, it might have gone off.
yeah. So that again, that's phenomenal. That changes the momentum. That it's like that old 16th man, you know, kind of slogan that teams have. It does, and it is an effect. And so if there is that one thing, it's purely that is just come in numbers and be loud and
Okay,
enjoy, have fun.
I can get louder.
Do not get the crowd going during your lineouts. That is something that drives me crazy because people will do it, and I'll be like, "Go ahead, it's your team. They're
We're,
I'll,
already
we're,
doing the work for me as far
I'll
as
add
I'm."
to it. It drove me
we're
nuts when Hilsenbeck was lining up for a kick and people would just start screaming. Like at home
oh,
games, Hilsenbeck's lining up for that penalty kick or the conversion, whatever it is, and people just start shouting. It drove me nuts.
I'll be honest with you. I reckon it's probably more nerve wracking when it's quiet.
Okay,
I've heard
If I'm
both.
being honest with you,
Okay, you
still get
go.
louder.
like I used to hate it when in England, they do everything proper in England, this isn't the movie. But, and they'd be all, and then it'd be dead silent. And I'd be standing there going, fucking hell, all eyes are on me here. As opposed to, Yahooing and carrying on. Then you don't have a care in the world.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep that in mind.
I sit on the other side where I like being the loud blowhorn that I am, but I will get in their heads. Man, I'll tell you what, there's a couple of them that I really enjoyed getting in their heads. And it was just like, hey, the laces aren't lined up. No, I know you want to go left, but it's going to go right. Stuff like that. You're just like, and
Hey,
if they
but
let me in, they let me in.
you pay good money, so it's good hard earned money to get in. So you might as well have your fun.
I mean, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've bought AJ a couple beers after games before because he lets me in. That's on him. That was on him. Oh, goodness gracious. That was fun. So, how is your wife dealing with all this adjustments moving into Chicago and all that? I mean, it's a lot, especially for the Wags.
Massive. I mean, I've been blessed, and I'll say it honestly. I wouldn't have even achieved half of what I've achieved if I didn't have support.
Yeah.
And having kids is hard, but then having kids when I'm always away or focused on, what I need to be focused on, um, or I'm dealing with being injured or dealing with being dropped or dealing with something. And there's always something with rugby that you're frigging dealing with. But then having a partner and a wife that can, hold the fort down and be in the trenches 24/7, it's a hell of a harder job than what it is running around a footy field getting hit. I can tell you now. So to have that is phenomenal. When without it, then and I say it a lot. Without it, I wouldn't have even been able to achieve half of it. I wouldn't have got to where I got to. A lot of people just see the outcomes on the field. They see the try and they see the celebration and that, but behind that try and behind that celebration is someone that deep in the trenches by themselves doing the work of usually what should be two people taking the load of all those things, doing that themselves. So yeah, massive, huge,
That's why I asked because, I don't think the Wags get enough credit for what they do. Thank you for mentioning her. Real
especially
talk.
the good ones.
Yeah.
Especially
Oh,
the good
yeah.
ones.
No, you nailed it because and I know the good ones don't get talked about because they're not creating havoc, but yet they're the ones we all wish to have because, well, they hold it down and they're letting you focus on
You
is
need to do.
what you need to do. And yeah, and I know you're jumping in every chance you get because that's just nature for you. How's the team developing, Chris?
If I'm being honest, really good. I'm really happy. Obviously, we've come together nicely. I think we had 16 returning, and I think 17 returning, and 15 new
Huh.
guys coming in. But again, a lot of that was because we would have had more returning had the league not changed. The Canadians becoming international, not domestic, changed for our squad a lot, the dynamic of our squad. Um, Also, the fact, well, that was probably the biggest one because then it became where do you stack
Yeah.
domestics in a certain position more than you really have to then protect yourself for an international spot. Um, So we lost a few, or we let a few go for those just purely for that reason. Had it all stayed the same, a lot of those guys that we let go would have we would have wanted to keep, and they wanted to stay. So again, it's came down to a lot. Forming a squad came a lot down to that. Um, but we were very specific on the guys that we brought in. We wanted to improve those areas. We wanted to bring an edge that we thought we'd lacked in a lot of areas. And at this moment, yeah, I'm comfortable where we're at as a team. And yeah, I think we're a better team this year than last. So it's exciting.
That says a lot. I'm excited just because I mean, yeah, we went down in size and everything, but because of that, the the core groups are stronger, quicker, built to hurt kind of thing, as well as the competition's gonna be fierce.
Yeah, I truly believe this will be the toughest, most most equal across the teams as it's ever been. You know, you've got a very concentrated player pool of domestics.
Yeah.
It's not diluted over 12 teams. It's concentrated, or 11 teams. It's concentrated into six. So you know and I've been privy to seeing that work from an Australian point of view. You know, we went from three teams and being one of the strongest nations in world rugby to then expanding to five and diluting our talent out over five teams, and then you know losing that edge that we had in world rugby because you know we didn't have that competitive edge about us anymore because there was contracts for everyone. So again, I think this six-team league is going to be very, very competitive. It's going to be highly competitive. It'll be a competition of nutrition because of the limit in squad size. But I truly believe if we had an eight-team, you know, we need to get to eight teams. If we get an eight-team, play each other twice, 16 games, you've got a product there that's on the money for the talent
We're
that's in
close.
America. Yeah.
I think if the league has a good season, which I honestly think they will, I think with granted we just, you know, the competition's going to be there. We've already discussed that, right? So like but then you got the movement of mags going in to a higher you know, a higher ranking position if you will, sharing, delegating if you will, the responsibility of the commissioner going into co-presidency and and then he I'm sweet on Megs when it comes to that because I think he focuses on some of the stuff that I think have been overseen or forgotten about or however you want to word that. So I think that it's going to help bring some fandom into it. I don't know if we're going to be able to compete with 11 teams of fandom, but I think it will help. And then of course, we're coming back to Chicago for this championship and I really hope to be there with like I don't know 10,000 friends or 20,000 friends would be even better. But by it being in Chicago, I really feel like it's gonna turn up. This is an easy place to go to for that weekend, June 21st. I don't you know, I already got my tickets and everything lined up, buddy, so you're stuck with me that weekend, and it's gonna be great.
No, yeah, I mean, it's you know, it's written there. It's just whether or not now we can, you know, we can reach it. You know, and it's not easy. You know, you know, it's a lot of people can. It's easy to say and it's easy to wish for, but you know, there's and it's you know, you can plan for everything and be across everything and have the best of everything, but at the end of the day, you know, luck's involved and the bounce of the ball and there's a lot of things that you've got to attend to over a season to get there. So, um, but we're excited. Definitely, we're excited, and we're not running from it. We're not hiding from it. We're owning it, and we're aiming very high.
To the moon!
To
Alright.
the
Yeah.
Well,
shield.
I love it. Paul, do you have any questions for Chris?
Not really. I've got a comment. Let's go Hounds. Season's only 2 weeks away for us. Can't wait.
That's
Yeah, it's
exciting.
exciting. Obviously, you know, Anthem and LA play next weekend, which is exciting. The comp starts, and it'll be good to get a good look at Anthem before we play them. So, you know, some will think that playing a game and having a game under your belt is an advantage, and some will say having the ability to see them before we play them would be an advantage. Who knows? We'll see after the game, but you know, it's an exciting time, and you know, I'm just glad that there is a competition. I'm glad there is another year, and feel very grateful for that. You know, and we're going to make the most of it.
That'll be fun. I'm over here doing it in my head just by conversation. So Anthem goes and plays LA or excuse me, Legion.
California.
Legion,
Yeah, Legion.
California, yeah.
That's gonna get used to. And then you guys, do you go to Anthem and play them or do they come to you?
Yeah.
We go to
No,
Anthem week 1.
Okay,
Yeah,
and then Seattle goes to Anthem week 2, like, the next time, so and I'm traveling for that one, uh, and then driving my happy ass over to Nashville to catch up with you guys and, have some funs and shenanigans with the Chicago fans, if you will. Matter of
yeah,
fact,
I'm
I don't
really
know.
really looking forward to that. I think Nashville's going to be a real hit. I think it's it's obviously two good teams, two big teams coming together. Um, I've never been there, but I've heard it's
Me
it
either.
supports anything, a drop of a hat, it'll support it and get behind it. So hopefully that happens and it can be a big occasion.
Yeah. Well, I know that, I reached out through friends, and we are gonna put on a show the day before. It's gonna be Rob Hammerschmidt and me, at this pub, called the Lost Patty, and the Lost Patty already supports local rugby. Great place to go to get stimulated, for the game. And then, of course, I got my own advertisement here, what I'm gonna play real quick for you gentlemen.
It's a movie. Red carpet, the lights going through. Anytime I arrive, it's the new me. Real diamonds on my neck, that's groupies. Flashing lights. All these things come to me. Dressed in price. All my rings got weight to it. You feel that? You feel that?
Love it. Great
If
work.
that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will.
Hey,
I'm
we
excited,
need
man. I'm
that.
excited.
We need that on a promo before every MLR game. That's fantastic.
Getting after it, buddy. Getting better at
That's
the
it.
polishing my skills. We all got to figure it out. I'm just trying to get better.
No, I
Too
like
fun.
it. Great work.
Well, thank you for joining me. I hope you can hang out with us or at least come slide in and like maybe grab a pint before the game. But I know you got to babysit cats that night. So there's that. But if you need a getaway car, I'll send one. Just saying. And so, but I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate your time and you making the time to do this. Thank you.
No, more than happy. And again, we obviously had your support in Seattle, and it was felt, and I appreciated it there. And obviously, when we played you guys in last year in Seattle, you were the first to come up and say good day, and on that captain's run. So again, it's one of those things. It's just fantastic to be able to catch up, and when we catch up, it's great. So happy to be on here.
Yeah,
Uh,
again, thank you for your time, Chris. Nice to actually meet you this time. So appreciate you, and let's get it. Let's take a shield this year.
I'll be seeing you on the field after games and obviously before games. So thank you. And yeah, let's get those supporters out. Let's get that kennel club packed, yelling,
I'll
barking.
be there every week. Tailgate every week. I make food every week. Brisket for week 1. It'll be great.
Oh, hang on. What was that? You're making what before the
Brisket
first
for
game?
week 1 or week 2, technically. The first home game, I'm making brisket for our home game.
Crisket will be down there for the
Brisket.
brisket. Yeah, Crisket will be for the brisket. Me, I'll be coming for some brisket.
If you want some, there'll be plenty. So come on over.
No, I'll definitely do that.
Man, I'm excited to come there. Paul, you and I both get to yell and scream for Chicago for the first time together. And this is the first time that Latho's been the coach while I get to go root on Chicago. Because in the past, I'd go down to Houston annually and go root them on against the Sabercats. And I'd be like one of the only dogs up in there just root, root, root away. And oh man, I mean, you get a couple extras, and if Phil Grove shows up, we act crazy together. But like
I'll tell you,
We
a
won-
hostile environment. I went to San Diego last season for the San Diego Legion game against the Hounds. A hostile environment is a fun time, especially if your team wins. It's even better.
Yeah. No, and we did win in Houston as well that week as well, the first round. So
so good. So good. Thank you for your time. I'm going to let you
too
go.
easy.
You want to
See you
BS
guys.
afterwards, stick around, but I'm going to let it go on this recording. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other videos at youtube.com/rugby100club.